Hi, welcome to this edition of Stream On. I'm Jim Williams, your host, and this week we're going to talk about Broadway. And when we're talking about Broadway, that of course means our friends from BroadwayHD, Stu Lane and Bonnie Comley. And I got to tell you, they are bringing a show which is a must-see. I'm telling you, if you haven't gotten Broadway HD already, you got to get it for this show alone. And then you're going to find out what, tremendous content they have. But 42nd Street is one of the most iconic Broadway shows ever. And they're bringing it to Broadway HD. Guys, you got to be excited about bringing 42nd Street to Broadway HD.
We are really excited about it. We've got an amazing recording that we shot in London that will be starting on our website May 15th. And I'm telling you, it sounds great. It looks beautiful. It's huge production. It's one of the most exciting projects that we've been working on in a year or so. It's really turned out well. We're looking forward to showing it to the public.
And it's a really special tribute to the creators of this show. We worked very closely with Mike Bramble, who was the original book writer, original book writer, and he directed this production. So we worked with him in London to work on what the capture would look like. So he worked very closely with us. And it was just really sad when he passed away in February. But he had signed off on everything, and he was thrilled with it, and he was so proud of it. So
for those who don't know, 42nd Street was a stage adaptation back in 1981 by Gower Champion and Mike Bramble of a early 1930s Warner Brothers musical when talkies were just starting. And he was able to very cleverly transpose these Busby Berkeley dance routines and song numbers from the film cinematic possibilities to the stage. And clever and funny, and kind of rejuvenated the American musical theater, brought back musical comedy the American way. So it became an iconic film, a landmark watershed film, watershed production actually, that launched the American musical again. That year, I think it was 42nd Street Woman of the Year, which I produced myself, and Sophisticated Ladies, the Duke Ellington musical, 3 solid shows. That one really led the pack. So 42nd Street, quite a nice history. And Mike Bramble, who directed this production, because he did work with Gower in the original, was able to keep the spirit and soul of the production intact. It's something you'll never get to see again, and we are so proud to have captured it.
Jerry Orbach, I was in New York. I got Jerry tickets to baseball games and such. Jerry calls me and says, I'm doing 42nd Street. Do you want to see it? I said, of course. And so I went and saw 42nd Street with Jerry Orbach, and it was a phenomenal show. But I need to ask Bonnie and Stu, you guys know Broadway more than any 2 people I've ever met. I have a question for you. I don't believe there is a show that begins with a more amazing dance number than Audition in 42nd Street. Your thoughts on that?
Well, you'll probably have every choreographer on Broadway argue with you that their show is the greatest.
Sorry. I'm not saying it's the greatest, just the top 10 anyway. All right, fair enough?
Yeah, it's definitely one of the most memorable, most dramatic openings to a show.
One of our biggest challenges, because I agree with you, one of our challenges was to make sure we captured that opening number, that moment when the curtain rises up just to knee level and you see those chorus dancers tap dancing just from the knees down. It raises the expectations, and you're going to see something really special. And then when the curtain continues up to show the whole chorus in rehearsal, it's amazing. But yes, that one moment, very important. We talked to the director about that. We worked on that for a while, and really, I think we captured it. We nailed it.
And
I did see the trailer, and you guys did nail it. There isn't any question about it.
The cast has 54 actors in it. So just the magnitude of that, and the costumes are amazing. The sets are amazing. It's just a big, lush, beautiful production with really talented cast. Really, really talented. I'm sorry that we didn't get Jerry Orbach, We didn't have Broadway HD back then, but
you didn't have much of a choice on that one, unfortunately, for all of us.
But this kind of production is really going to be hard for anybody to duplicate in this magnitude. But I think you'll find all the high schools and the middle schools are going to do it once they get a chance to see what it looks like. They can imagine what they can scale it down to for their local productions. And then there's a tour going out. There's a tour going out in the UK, I believe it is. There's a tour going to Australia of this huge production that the stage producer Michael Linnett is taking around the world.
Yeah, we don't have Jerry Orbach, but the guy playing Julian Marsh does a darn good job of it.
Well, I'm certain that he does. And, Stewart and Bonnie, I got to tell you, the two of you, as I said before, are Broadway experts and geniuses at this. I can't imagine two people who are going to pay the homage that needed to be paid to make 42nd Street a hit more than the two of you.
Oh, thank you so much. That's nice. But we try to do that with all the productions that we are involved in the capture. We also try to do that with the other shows that we co-produce or license from other content providers and the stuff that we put onto the Broadway HD platform. It's all there and curated and beautiful and a tribute to the Broadway industry and to theater in general. So thank you so much for that. But I think that, that's what we're trying to do with the whole Broadway HD website, is to bring these people to people that might not experience it live, or they'll be able to see it and then they know they want to go see it live if it comes touring past them.
I think that Stewart hit on it earlier, and that is that it was a show that, or it is a show, I should say, is a show that does have the old 30s kind of Busby Berkeley, and for those of you who don't know Busby Berkeley, look it up, Google it, look on YouTube, there's got to be something on it. But those kind of multi-level big dance numbers, that's what you think of when you think of Broadway. And I think that the bringing back 42nd Street, I got to tell you, I think that as Bonnie said, there's going to be more high school and college drama teachers who are going to just say, this is it. We need to do this, and we need to do it now. And then going out and finding, people who dance is going to be another thing. But it's just such a classic, such a wonderful, wonderful show.
That's one of the wonderful things about Broadway HD. We're able to reintroduce classic American musical comedy to generations that have no idea what it's about because they've never seen it. They weren't around for it.
Right.
Old timers like me, yeah, sure, we've been around. But the young ones, we're able to share it with them now, and that is a great feeling.
Stream On will continue after these messages. Folks, let me tell you about Molekule. It's reimagining the future of clean air, starting with the air purifier. Now, it's not just an improvement on existing outdated technology, but a complete reinvention of air purification as we know it. Molekule was developed by a scientist whose son was suffering from asthma and who was frustrated by the fact that HEPA air purification didn't relieve his son's symptoms. As a result, Dr. Yogi Goswami spent 20 years developing a completely new, totally effective way of removing indoor air pollutants. Now, Dr. Goswami is a distinguished professor and the director of the Clean Air Energy Research Center at my alma mater, the University of South Florida in Tampa. He developed PECO, which is the technology behind Molekule. Now, PECO stands for Photo Electrochemical Oxidation. It actually destroys the harmful pollutants like bacteria, viruses, mold, allergens, and airborne chemicals. Instead of just collecting some of them in a filter, Molekule makes this revolutionary technology available to consumers everywhere so that everyone can experience that life-changing effect of breathing clean air. Now, why Molekule? Okay. Why did I join and buy a Molekule? Well, I'll tell you why. Listen to this, my friends. Global air pollution is worsening at an ever-increasing rate, and over 80% of the people living in urban areas that monitor air pollution are exposed to quality air that is below World Health Organization standards. That's right, 80% of the people living in urban areas that monitor air pollution are exposed to air quality below World Health Organization standards. It was worth repeating. Worse news is that indoor air can be up to 5 times worse than outdoor air, according to the EPA, and most of us spend 90% of our time indoors. Look, pollen isn't the only problem, friends. You know that. It's easy to blame pollen for runny noses, watery eyes, and even sneezing. However, it's actually tiny proteins that break off in the pollen that are responsible for those seasonal allergies that we all suffer through. Although they're less visible, these allergens can cause huge problems and pass right through a traditional air purifier. What sets Molekule apart, as we've said before, is, look, that technology, the PECO technology, it destroys the tiny particles, leaving there nothing but clean air. And that's, after all, that's what we want. Molekule destroys those pollutants other filters can't collect because, as we said before, they're outdated. The HEPA filters collect large pollutants, but small ones like mold, viruses, bacteria, volatile organic chemicals slip right through and you breathe them. So there's no wonder you get allergies. Come on, folks, you know better than that. Hey, look, HEPA filters haven't been changed, as we said earlier, for 70 years, all the way going back into the 40s. Imagine trying to make a call on a phone that hadn't been updated in 70 years. Same thing here. HEPA filters were invented during World War II. We talked about that. You can't be using old technology when Molekule has the newest cutting-edge filtration system that doesn't just collect pollutants like the antiquated filters. It destroys them on a molecular level. It blows them away. If you're having trouble sleeping, folks, that's one of my problems before I got my Molekule. Not a problem anymore. Breathing clean air can help you sleep. Place your Molekule next to your bed, like I do, clears the air you're breathing. Absolutely no problem. Customers have reported feeling energized, excited, and ready to go for the morning every day. And I can tell you from my own personal experience that absolutely does it, and does it very well. Now, Molekule's technology is something that personally has been effective to me. As I said before, it's verified by science, folks. Don't just take my word for it. But most importantly, as I said before, it's tested by real people like myself. And I can tell you how much it's changed my life. I sleep better. I breathe cleaner air. I've got fewer allergies, all because of Molekule. And Molekule has given allergies and asthma sufferers around the country a whole new experience and a much safer and better quality of life. Now, I got a deal for you, and you better take advantage of it because, man, I'm telling you, it is one heck of a deal. Here's what you get. You get $75 off your first order by visiting Molekule.com. Let me spell that out for you, and it's also in our show box below, but I'll spell it out for you. That's Molekule.com. That's Molekule.com. At checkout, enter my code STREAMON. That's my code STREAMON. You get $75 off your first order. Folks, that's one heck of a deal. Again, let me give it to you one more time. $75 off your first order. Visit Molekule.com. That's Molekule.com. At checkout, enter the code STREAMON. Get $75 off your first order. All that's going to be in the show box, but trust me, folks, I am a Molekule user. I love it. Would highly recommend that you get it. By all means, go out there to Molekule.com. Take that $75 off your first order. Use the code STREAMON, and you will be glad you did, guarantee. Okay? All right. Now, back we go to Stream On. Well, that's Broadway HD in general, though. I mean, there's so much on there that,
we've got some new classic stuff that we're going to be on board.
Cool. I mean, I was just going to say, you can go from 42nd Street to Phantom. I mean, that's a pretty large swath of content there.
Well, I think soon, in the next month or so, we're going to be adding a production of Death of a Salesman with the original Willie Loman, Lee J. Cobb.
Oh, my
George
goodness.
Siegel's in it. And then we're going to be adding, if you remember, and you probably do, the Pirates of Penzance with Kevin Kline and Linda Ronstadt.
Yes, I do. Oh, my.
We're going to have that on board, yeah.
That's a cast.
Yeah, we're curating and getting, building new content, but we're also lining it up against these classics that if you missed it, here's your chance. Here's your opportunity to see it.
Well, as Stewart just said, Bonnie, Pirates of Penzance, of course, if you're not, into Gilbert and Sullivan or opera, or you don't know, I mean, this is something that, again, I think that you're going to turn a brand new audience into and say, wait a minute, this is not, this is a little different than what I'm used to.
Well, that's it. I mean, Broadway HD is right now we have 300 full-length stage plays and musicals. And so for $100 a year, which is less than the price of one Broadway ticket on average, that you can experiment. You go on there to see 42nd Street, but once you get onto the site, you say, okay, maybe I'd like Pirates of Penzance. Maybe I'm going to try Shakespeare. And it's a price point that you can experiment. And I think that's part of the legacy that we'll leave is aggregating all this amazing theater into one place so that people can go, they can relive experiences that they've had if they've seen the show, they can experience it for the first time, they can experience what something looks like if they've never been to Broadway. This is what it looks like inside those theaters, and then decide, you know what, I'm going to go buy a ticket to some live show that's nearby. That's inspired me.
Yeah. Or you, as you said, Bonnie, you can look at it and you can go and see a Pirates of Penzance, or you can see something like that and look at it and go, wait a minute, there's Puffs, and something that they can relate to because it's a Harry Potter, inspired show.
And you get a choice because now you can watch it on Broadway HD. You can actually see it live off Broadway now.
Right.
Yeah, Puffs is still running. It's currently running.
Well, see, that might inspire you to want to go and see it.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Because you can see how much fun it is from an audience perspective, that you want to be in that audience. You want to be the one when they interact with the audience. You want to be there and have that, just be a part of it.
Right. One of the things that I believe that you guys have done, and to your credit on Broadway HD, is you have helped out tremendously community theater. Because there's a lot of things that you will see on Broadway HD that are being, redone in community theaters all around the country. And I think that that's something that I believe you guys deserve a great deal of credit for, as how you've, given people a chance to look at something on Broadway and say, wait a minute, I saw that on Broadway HD and it's now playing, in my community theater. And I'm going to go out and see it.
Yes, and somebody just mentioned that about our Oscar Wilde titles, that they didn't know who that was or what that was, and then after watching, there are these smaller theaters around the country that are looking at that and saying, oh, I thought that was like some old, dusty, script.
Right.
That's actually very funny. So yes, there are things that there is renewed interest in titles that people didn't ever think of before. It makes them relevant again when, here, look at this production and how current it is, even though there's no cell phones and it's period costumes.
Right, yeah.
There's still these and relationships that are still there. I mean, it's why we keep doing Shakespeare. It's the same stories, the same,
right.
the parents, the parent-child relationships, the spouses, the fighting, the the love, the affairs, the everything
Right.
is there's nothing new in that sense. But
Right. Well,
it's
to your
still relevant.
point, yeah, to your point, between Shakespeare and Moliere, there's they still were the two who created what we now consider situation comedy. So yeah, everything else is new again.
Yeah, some of the shows that we're shooting that are newer are smaller shows that the community theaters are interested in, but are afraid to approach because maybe the script is not terribly elaborate. For instance, we shot up a show called The Woodsman off Broadway, which is puppetry and a lot of action and motion, very little dialogue. And so to see it gives them a real sense of whether they can produce it in their own community theater or not. So we've done that. We also produce shows like the Gabriel plays from the Public Theater or On the Exhale from the Roundabout. So we're doing smaller shows as well as big Broadway shows.
Well, smaller in that they're less people in the cast, I think, and maybe smaller because the plays are less expensive to do than the musicals. But I don't think, don't call my script small.
As compared to epic,
Yeah. No,
there's intimate and there's epic.
There you go. So
Well, yeah,
intimate.
And there's also things that are doable and things that aren't. And, doable meaning, as Stewart was saying, it's easier to cast something that has 10 or 15 people in it than maybe something that has 40 or 50 people in it.
And vice versa. I mean, some of these small things that we did that were intimate productions, because that's what the stage director envisioned. They're actually taking some of those and making them larger. So for high schools, for community theaters, what shows that are there that one cast member would play 4 different parts, you can now add a crowd scene and incorporate everybody in the high school. There's those kind of things. So it can be scaled up or scaled back depending on the audience and the size of the venue and what you have for a budget.
Well, speaking as someone who played 3 roles in Jesus Christ Superstar, I can tell you, I totally understand the importance of being versatile. Not talented, just versatile. But yeah, it's. I think that one of the things Broadway HD has proven is that you can translate a Broadway show to a small screen. Because you can't get much smaller than watching something on a phone or an iPad.
Yes, but it doesn't make the experience less powerful.
No, not at all.
I think, it really it focuses you in a different way because you're led by the TV director of who, out of this 58 actor cast for 42nd Street, there are times when the TV director narrows it down to the view of just, 1 or 2 people on the stage. So there's those kind of that you don't have control over, but it still makes it a very a special, intimate experience, even with a gigantic stage like that. So, but again, nothing, we're doing the best we can do to add to the live experience. But we'll never replace it. But I think we're the next thing. We're the next best thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's also a matter in importance of keeping theater alive. There's nothing more important, I think, in the arts than keeping theater alive. And you two have done an outstanding job through Broadway HD of promoting theater and bringing it to the masses so that you do understand the importance of live theater and making certain that you support it, whether it's locally or nationally.
No, exactly. We're able to share the Broadway experience with a younger audience. Our demographics are much younger than the Broadway and touring demographics. We appeal to more young people and older people because we can reach them at an affordable price, and they don't have to fly to New York to see it.
I think the type of entertainment that we're offering, theater is a very different experience than TV or movies. With theater, you have to be more invested. You have to go on this journey. So if someone's going to tell you that they're on the moon, you're going to believe that they're on the moon. Whereas if it was a movie, would have to go to the moon or recreate, zero gravity. But with theater, you really have to use your imagination. And I think that is so important for people. And we're parents of 5 children, and they're very spread out in age. So we've seen how education has changed. And as now everyone has a computer in their hand in the form of a phone, and they don't need to know facts anymore. They just need to know how to ask questions. So what is really going to be of value going forward is creative minds. So theater, I think, is one of the best places to stretch people's minds at any age and be creative and have to think differently, think deeply. So I think that, spreading that kind of entertainment around is just vital.
Picking up on what Bonnie said, we live in an age now where interactive is becoming more and more relevant to the entertainment industry. Gaming, for instance, or America's Got Talent and phone in your votes. Right. And as Bonnie said, the theater going experience, it takes a more active part on the part of the audience. That you can't just sit back and watch shadows on a screen and relax. You actually have to sit up, pay attention, and feed off the actors that are on stage. Well, it's sort of the same thing with Broadway HD. You've got to be active with it, and that sort of puts us into the future. I think that's where entertainment is going, more active audiences where they have to suspend their disbelief to watch a show. You're more actively involved with the production itself that you're watching.
Well, I think absolutely. And one other little kind of sidebar illustration is that my mother-in-law is in lives now in a retirement community. And I talked to them about Broadway HD. They subscribe to Broadway HD, and now they have a special Broadway night once a month where they will, do it up.
That's
Everybody
great.
dresses up as if they're going to they're going to the show. It's a dress-up thing. They have their dinner prior, and then they go and they watch one of the plays that is picked for them on Broadway HD.
I love it. I mean, a lot of our business has been demand-driven. It's a new type of business. Digital captures or filming or shooting or videotape plays is not new, but aggregating them all into one place is really what's new and what we've done. So once we actually built a destination for all of these, 300 shows that we have now, and then we keep adding on, that was where we started. But then other organizations came to us and said, we have people that are hearing impaired. So several hearing impaired organizations reached out and said, why is this not closed captioned? And we thought, well, it was the internet. We weren't required to do it, but let's look into that. And we did. And, so things like people that are aging out of being able to travel to Times Square, to drive at night, to hear comfortably inside the theater. They do have, devices. There is an app now that you can bring into the theater on your phone or iPad, but it's just to try and watch what's going on and read subtitles or captions as you're experiencing it. I think it's different when it's on the screen and it's imposed onto the bottom of your screen while you're watching it. A whole bunch of people that are exactly like your mom that that they love this type of entertainment, but it's just not accessible to them anymore. But now it is. Now it is in a different and another convenient way. It can be anytime they want, anywhere they want. So yes, I'm thrilled. That just touched me that you told me that story.
No, I think it's a lot of fun, and I think that one of the other things is I do know I've spoken to a number of folks at universities and high schools, and all of them are taking long, hard looks at including Broadway HD in their budgets for 2019, 2020 for their theater departments, and for those kids who want to get into the theater arts. This is a perfect opportunity for them to to get a feel for what it's like. It's one thing to talk about it, it's another thing to see it.
Yes.
Quick.
Because
Go ahead.
Part of the education is that you have to, the more shows you can see, the more you're familiar with the different composers and playwrights and set designers and directors, the better off you are, and it just increases your vocabulary in how you talk to other people in the business. It's also how you talk to other people about when awards are coming. So we're in the middle of Tony season right now here in New York. And I think that one of the challenges of the Tony Awards is that the viewing audience on CBS isn't familiar with the shows. They don't know who the players are.
Right.
So unlike the Academy Awards, we've all gone out and seen the movie usually before the Academy Awards. So we have somebody to root for. I want that person to win, or I love that show, or I love that person's show. So even though I didn't see that show, those sorts of you're invested in it. You know the players, and so you're part of it. And I think that with the Tony Awards, people haven't seen it yet, and that's one of the things that we are doing with Broadway HD is that we are putting out people that are nominated this year that we have maybe not the show that they're in this year, but we have other performances. So
well, and you've seen them on Broadway.
Revival of Oklahoma. That's nominated this year. We have a very different Oklahoma with Hugh Jackman. I'm trying to think of who else we have. If you just go to the site.
Well, Hugh Jackman, Hugh Jackman's a good start. There's if you're gonna have somebody on, Hugh Jackman is not a bad one to start with.
Yeah,
no.
Okay.
And we've got two productions of Gypsy, one with Bette Midler and the other with Imelda Staunton that she did in London, got an Olivier Award for that. So you can actually have shows you can compare one against the other. We have like 3 Macbeths at least. And it's kind of fun because you get to see the same story but different interpretations.
Right. Not to be confused with the one that's going on in Washington right now. That performance of Macbeth we see on a daily basis. But no, I gotta say too, the fun part of Broadway HD, from my standpoint, is as Stu just Stu, if it's you or Bonnie, you just said it, and I'm sorry if I'm misquoting either one of you. But seeing the two different gypsies, I thought was priceless because they're also shot differently. So you get to see it in two different ways, and it's two different interpretations of the show, not only from the people who star in it, but from the actual way it's done.
No, you're right.
To your point earlier, that everything old is new again, and all the stories have already been told. In the movie industry, it's so rare to do a remake of a movie that it's shocking and it makes news everywhere when Steven Spielberg is doing West Side Story, they're redoing Ocean's, whatever it is. It's shocking. But
Ocean's 45. Yes.
We have so many revivals that there is a category for best revival of plays, and there is a separate revival category for best revivals of musicals. And every year those categories are overflowing with candidates that didn't make it into the nominations. So it's not the story, because with Romeo and Juliet, we all know how it ends. It's how the story is told. And you can find ways to reinvent these stories and push them out in a different way. So even though you already know it, you're willing to go and hear someone else tell this same story because they're going to tell it in a different way, and you'll hear something that you didn't hear last time. And that, I think, is just, again, part of using your imagination and expanding the way that you think.
I'll go out on a limb here, but I think that you'd be hard-pressed to come up with a remake of a musical in the movie industry. I think West Side Story, this one that Steven Spielberg is working on, is probably the only time I've heard of a major musical by a studio picture being redone. I think because they're so expensive, but this is the first time that they're doing that.
Well, and with all due respect to Mr. Spielberg, it's if he had to pick one, I'm not sure I would have picked that one. But we'll see how that turns out. Bonnie and Stu, one of the things you're talking about the Tonys, For those people who might be headed to New York and not know what they want to see, any suggestions on some of the Tony, what you think should be Tony nominated shows that they should check out?
There's a lot, and it depends on, who's coming. I think
Right.
that's part of the, the magic of Broadway and the different types of shows that we have available this season.
Right. Okay.
The front runners for the Tony Awards are Tootsie, which is a movie that's been done,
Right.
and it's been upgraded and sensitized for the Me Too generation. And the diversity that's on stage is incredible this season. Hadestown is another one that's up for Best New Musical,
Right.
and that's up against Tootsie. And these, when you see them, like they probably shouldn't even be in the same category because
Right.
they're so very, very different and both special and amazing. There's The Prom, there's Ain't Too Proud. Those are the big musicals that are up
Right.
for the awards. There's the revivals. We just saw Kiss Me Kate, and oh my goodness, Kelly O'Hara can do anything as far as I'm concerned. She was just amazing in this show. And there's a new Oklahoma it's a very different Oklahoma that's been revived this year. And the plays you have from these huge, The Ferryman that has, probably 20 actors in the cast. They've got babies, literally, it's not like, some sort of a prop. There's like these little toddlers that they're, carrying around with live geese. It's so different. So I would, I don't think you could go wrong with any of the Tony nominated shows.
Right.
But there was also shows that were really worthy that didn't get nominated this year, and performances that were unfortunately overlooked because it was such a robust season.
Okay, so coming May 15th, not that far from now, is 42nd Street to Broadway HD. And any other things you would like to touch on, Bonnie and Stu?
Well, we've got other shows that we're lining up that we can talk about next time we're on the show.
Okay, look forward to it, guys. It's always a pleasure. And
invited us back.
I'm sorry?
I said Stu just invited us back.
Well, you're always invited once a month, so that's simple enough.
Okay.
So don't worry about that. He does it. Stu can invite himself back anytime. If you want to come back next week, Stu, just let me know.
Thank you, Jim.
We'll do another one. But anyway, I'm looking forward to seeing 42nd Street and all of the other stuff that's on Broadway HD. If you don't subscribe to Broadway HD, shame on you. And second of all, at $99 a year, $99 a year, it's a steal. It's an absolute and total steal. You should be watching it and watching it now. Stream On will continue after these messages.
Life is about making decisions. At BMW I, we decided it was time to reinvent the car from the ground up, making sure we were open for truly innovative ideas. We decided that the car we wanted must be electric, and it should be made of extremely light and super strong carbon fiber. And finally, we decided to make it more intelligent and added our promise of incomparable driving pleasure. We made all these decisions to offer you a choice. The all-electric BMW i3.
Welcome back, everybody. Now, if you're not one of the already 60,000 people who've taken time to subscribe to our podcast, first of all, shame on you. Second of all, you can do it very simply. We make it easy for you. It's free. You can find us at the Apple Podcast Store, so go to iTunes. Same situation, go to Google Play. You can find us at the Google Podcast Store, along with Spreaker, Stitcher, Spotify, and TuneIn, iHeartRadio, YouTube, just to name a few. If you can't seem to find it, not a problem. Pull out the old Google machine and type in Stream On with Jim Williams. It'll pop up. Hit the favorite button or the subscribe button, and we will come with a brand new edition of the podcast every week to your cell phone, to your tablet, or hopefully to both. All right, simple to do. Also, if you have a connected device like, let's say Alexa or Google or any of the Apple devices who are known by Siri, all you have to do is say, hey, Alexa, Google or Siri, please play the latest edition of Stream On with Jim Williams, and they will do it. So we can't make it any easier, folks. Please go out and subscribe today. All right. So thank you to Stewart Lane and Bonnie Comley from Broadway HD. As I said, cannot recommend enough their service. It's outstanding. They're debuting on May the 15th, 42nd Street. It is an awesome, iconic Broadway musical. Check it out on Broadway HD. All right. Okay. Coming up next week, we're going to go across the pond. We're going to talk to the cast of Living the Dream. That's right. Living the Dream, the BBC hit, which is coming to BritBox. It is Living the Dream. We got the whole cast with us next week. Going to have a lot of fun talking to them. So until then, I'm Jim Williams for the rest of the team here at Stream On. Have a wonderful week. We'll see you next time with the cast of Living the Dream.